I would like to, thanks, Ted. Yeah. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty territory, and the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, specifically the Garden River and the Batchewana First Nations, as well as Métis people. Before we get started, I just want to give a little bit of information about the Sault Climate Hub. For those of you that you don't know, the Sault Climate Hub is a nonpartisan group of concerned citizens advancing climate change mitigation and adaptation to align Sault Ste. Marie with scientific, aspirational, and global targets for greenhouse gas emissions. We aim to do this through education, engagement, and action. Our hub is part of the Climate Reality Project Canada that serves as the Canadian component of a global movement of more than 21,000 diverse and dedicated volunteers from 154 countries around the world. If you're joining us tonight for the first time and you're interested in following our activities or joining the hub as a volunteer, you can find us at the locations here, our Facebook page, Instagram, or by email. Tonight, we're starting our 4th year of presenting a webinar series where we've highlighted individuals and groups that are engaged in climate action in Algoma and Sault Ste. Marie, but also beyond. To kick off this year's webinars, we're happy to welcome Emily Cormier, who's the Sustainability Coordinator at the City of Sault Ste. Marie. Emily leads sustainability initiatives for the city, including the implementation of the Sault Ste. Marie greenhouse gas reduction plan. In 2023, Emily was recognized with the Environmental Award from Village Media Community Builders, and she also received the Strive Young Professionals 2023 Algoma Visionary Award for the Environment and Natural Resources Industry. So we're really excited to have her as our first presenter starting out this year. Tonight, she's going to be speaking about energy and sustainability projects and initiatives that the city implemented in 2023 and those that are underway and planned for 2024. Welcome, Emily. Looking forward to your talk.
Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate the invitation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You can see it? Awesome, thanks. So thank you for the warm welcome and introduction. It's my pleasure to be here to speak to the Sault Climate Hub. You are a fantastic partner to work with at the city, and a lot that I'm going to speak to you tonight has to do with partnerships. We have a wonderful community here in Sault Ste. Marie and even beyond into East Algoma as well. And they are the reason why so many great initiatives are underway, partnering with community stakeholders, different organizations to get some great projects up and off the ground. As I said, my name's Emily Cormier. I'm a project manager. I've spent the last 12 plus years in the natural resources and sustainability space, most recently working with the City of Sault Ste. Marie. So as was alluded to, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the city's green initiatives, sustainability initiatives, and energy projects, give you an overview of what we did last year and talk about what's cooking for this year. I'm going to kick things off with talking about the city's Green Initiatives Fund. This fund has been around now since 2021, so it's still a little bit new. But we recently went through a refresh. So I really wanted to take an opportunity to highlight what this is. The city has a community development fund, and it has a few different pillars. One of them is the Green Initiatives Program. And this is open to local not-for-profit organizations, unincorporated, grassroots groups, schools or school groups, committees, as well as city departments. And it's open for applications for projects that support green initiatives and result in improved environmental sustainability in Sault Ste. Marie. The fund has 4 intakes. We have 4 quarterly intakes, and we just wrapped up our first intake round at the end of March. Projects are going to be evaluated. So if you have ideas, feel free to reach out. This is just the beginning of the year. So a little bit of a highlight of some of the projects that we received last year in 2023. We're allocated $50,000 for this fund from the city every year. We had a little bit left over from the year prior, so that's why we had a few more pennies to throw at projects. Really a lot of interesting projects. Majority were from nonprofit groups at about 53%, and the rest came from city departments. A school group at Clerg asked for some money for trees, Clean North as well. Sioux Fire Services bought their very first electric lawnmower. The Invasive Species Center held a very robust community invasive species poll for Himalayan balsam. Innovation Center got some money for their Lita Trap project, which removes microplastics from our waterways. The city applied for money for EV chargers. Tourism Sault Ste. Marie got some money for a Clear Your Gear project. These are receptacles that you can put fishing line in, and it keeps fishing line out of our natural environment. Really neat initiative that we're hoping to see implemented this year. And Fire Services also got an electric snowblower. So a nice mix of projects. As I said, this fund was recently revamped, and I'm going to share a little video here with you about what the fund looks like. And it does a better job than I can do in a presentation. So here we go. Ted, give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. Action. Got to start from the beginning.
The City of Sault Ste. Marie values environmental stewardship and aims to use its resources wisely for a sustainable future for all generations. The Green Initiatives Fund provides financial support for projects that enhance our sustainability and our community's environmental well-being.
Funding applications are open to local nonprofits, grassroots organizations, schools, including schools committees, as well as city departments. Projects or activities that improve environmental sustainability, including greenhouse gas emission reduction, water quality improvement, energy efficiency, active transportation, waste reduction, are all eligible. One of the priorities of the Environmental Sustainability Committee is to encourage community projects and collaboration for the enhancement and protection of the environment in Sault Ste. Marie.
Climate change is the most pressing issue of our time, and we all have a responsibility to reduce our carbon footprint and help make our community more resilient to climate change. Since 2021, our Green Initiatives Fund has awarded over $170,000 in 21 projects so far. Let's see what some of our successful applicants had to say.
We actually applied 2 years in a row. So we applied for 2022 funding year and then again for 2023 on 2 completely separate projects. In 2023, we were successful in obtaining funds for the Sault Ste. Marie Himalayan Balsam Community Project, which we led in collaboration with a number of community organizations local to Sault Ste. Marie.
I applied for a hydroponics project here for Harvest Algoma. So my equipment, which is just set up behind me here, was the main portion of what I had asked for through the Green Initiatives Fund.
The Green Initiatives Fund, the application itself is really straightforward. It's easy to fill out. You can talk about your project really thoroughly. Emily and other great people at the city are there every step of the way to help answer any of your questions.
I hope that other people are encouraged to apply for it and come up with their own projects, because all in all, I had a really great experience with it.
Now that you've heard from some previous applicants, could your project be next? When you're ready to apply, reach out to city staff. We'll be happy to help you with your project and answer any questions you might have. Visit SaultSteMarie.ca to learn more about the Green Initiatives Fund, and be sure to share any future projects on social media with the hashtag SustainableSSM. Anyone can make a positive impact on environmental sustainability in our community. All you have to do is take the first step.
Great. So keep that in mind. If you have any projects, please reach out. The fund has been revised, and hopefully we can get some more outlining groups like schools. I was just at the Science North Climate Summit, Youth Climate Summit, for the past couple of days, working with a bunch of high school students, and they have a lot of great ideas. So spread the word. We have a fund that can support their projects. Okay, so taking a step back to last year, I'm going to talk about some of the highlights of initiatives that I worked on. So big one was updating the city's corporate emissions inventory. When we started on this journey back in 2019 for climate, developing the city's climate plan, we built a baseline community emissions inventory and updated our corporate emissions. And made a commitment in 2020 to update those on the corporate emissions on an annual basis. So that's up on the city website. Big undertaking, but very important to show what we've been up to and, monitor our results. Big step as well in 2023 is the city added a climate impact statement to council reports. So it's currently voluntary, but it's a starting point to highlight some of the impacts of projects that are brought to city council and their impact for climate change, be it mitigation or adaptation. So certainly a good step in the right direction. Again, when I started my presentation tonight, I talked a lot about partnerships, and that's really a key to what I've been doing over the past couple of years at the city. Partnered with the Innovation Center to deliver 2 free information sessions on different incentive programs in the province regarding electricity and natural gas. So that was really great. These programs are available to residential consumers as well as commercial groups to help them fund their energy projects and subsequently reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Fast forward into March of last year, the city partnered with Algoma University as well as the group Waterwise and celebrated World Water Day. We held a virtual community presentation with some great Did my voice go off?
Yeah, you're back.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Very good. Oh, something's happening to me. Same system. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, sorry, I don't know. I swear I didn't touch a thing. Yeah, so we had Candace Desnevu, co-founder of Bawading Water Protectors, talking about guidance from an Anishinaabe fisherman's granddaughter, Dr. Paula Antunes from Nautilus Environmental, talking about contaminants of concern, and Dr. Michael Twist, the Dean of the Faculty of Science at Algoma U, talking about our relationship with the Great Lakes. He brought a really interesting perspective, being a border town, because he had spent some time in the US. Last year as well, the city participated in Science North's Climate Action Summit. We talked about our climate portfolio, our climate plan, and supported some climate action activities to support the students' learnings. We also partnered with the Sault Climate Hub, who supported with a community cleanup initiative for the high school students. Last year was the first year that the city of Sault Ste. Marie participated in the City Nature Challenge. This is a global BioBlitz that takes place around the world with cities, hundreds of different cities, and they all go out over a series of 4 days and compete to make the most identifications on an app called iNaturalist of flora, fauna, and recording sounds. And it's just really an activity to encourage people to get outside, appreciate nature and support citizen science. So we had quite a few observations here in Sault Ste. Marie. We partnered with the Sioux Naturalists and the Conservation Authority. I'll talk about this a little bit later on in my presentation, but we're actually doing this again. But we've gone international this year. The city has asked staff to look into becoming a bird-friendly community certified by Nature Canada, which is a national nonprofit. As part of our steps to do this, we supported the Sioux Naturalists in their annual Migratory Bird Day outing and held a proclamation at City Council. And we'll be doing similar things this year to hopefully submit our application later on in the fall. You may have noticed in the past month or so, there was a bit of media attention. The city worked in partnership with Algoma University and held a contest for our city bird. So lots of support from community partners on that project as well. We held a Bike to Work Week event last year in partnership with the Sioux Cycling Club and Algoma Public Health. We had 7 different activities. Most of them were in support of different recreation events, such as the pump track event from the city that kicked everything off. But a lot of it was hands-off, and we recorded kilometers in support of the city's application to Participation, which funds municipalities who track activity. So that was really great. The city approved our community energy financing feasibility study and gave us direction to apply for funding for program design. We're working on submitting that application right now. This is a really exciting project for me. I've worked a lot in the energy space for the past few years, and it would be really neat to see a community retrofit program here in Sault Ste. Marie. So working on getting that funding application in. The city also bought our very first electric Zamboni, which was an exciting milestone as well. We received some funding again from the Green Municipal Fund, which is a federal agency that supports municipalities in their climate action, to conduct a roadmap, or more specifically, 6 deep energy retrofit audit studies on our top 6 emitting facilities. And these are going to give us a roadmap to show us different measures on how all of these facilities can reduce their emissions, starting at 50%, 80%, and then net zero by 2050. So that's really exciting. The city's first sustainability report was approved in May of last year. And this was really a check-in on how are we doing with the 60+ actions identified in our climate action plan. We'll be doing this on an annual basis just to keep council apprised. The city supported the Algoma District School Board as well with their efforts for Yellowfish Road, which is a program offered through a national nonprofit called Trout Unlimited Canada, to bring awareness to stormwater pollution. So over 400 students from the ADSB were out painting little yellow fish. You may have noticed them in your neighborhoods near catch basins to help bring awareness about the importance of thinking about what you put down the drain. And then into the fall, we held a sustainable procurement workshop internally for city staff. We met with a group called Buy Social Canada and learned a little bit more about sustainable procurement, which is actually one of the actions in the city's GHG reduction plan. So lots of fun information learned at that session. Going into the fall of last year, we partnered with the Sioux Climate Hub again, as well as PUC, to deliver Sault Ste. Marie's very first EV showcase. It was a very chilly October day, but we had a really great time, and we had a lot of people stop by, all ages, with different questions to learn about what it's like to drive an EV in northeastern Ontario. We kicked off that deep audit retrofit project that we got some funding for, and we're hoping for that to be completed later in the next couple of months or so, end of June. And then at the end of November, the city's Environmental Sustainability Committee, who oversee, I should have mentioned earlier, the administration of the city's Green Initiatives Fund, we meet monthly, or we used to meet monthly, not anymore. And we had a special guest two special guests come to our meeting to talk about ways that you can advance municipal climate action. So we featured 2 speakers, Gabrielle Kalapos, she's the executive director from the Clean Air Partnership. They're a nonprofit down in the GTA that support local government across the province on their actions for clean air and climate change. And also Mike Layton. He is a former City of Toronto councillor, but currently the Chief Sustainability Officer at York University, to talk about some of the ways that you can advance municipal climate action. So if you didn't catch that, it can be watched on the city's YouTube site. Just check out the Environmental Sustainability Committee's November 2023 meeting. Okay, so what's cooking this year? 2024. I can't believe it's almost the end of April. It's been a busy 4 months, but lots of great projects on the go. Really saw more of a push for capital projects from the city's budget to support energy initiatives. We kicked off the year with the council's approval of the city's community charging infrastructure plan. So this is really an overview of ways that the municipality can consider incorporating more opportunities to encourage electric vehicle adoption. This is very much in line with the federal government's commitment to, by 2035, all light-duty vehicles to be zero emission. We're working on a corporate EV charger project. We've got a project on the go right now to put solar panels on the city's transit depot, as well as a roof replacement project at the John Roads. That might sound boring, but it's actually quite exciting because the roof is going to be replaced to accommodate solar in the future. As I mentioned earlier, we're working on applying for phase 2 for funding of a program designed for a community efficiency financing initiative, aka a homegrown Sault Ste. Marie retrofit program. We've got to update our corporate emissions inventory, as well as provide the update to the community on our community emissions. Our annual, every 5 years, municipalities, as part of broader public sector energy reporting, need to submit a 5-year energy conservation and management plan. So that is also on the docket. As I mentioned earlier, we're wrapping up in the next couple of months that deep energy audit roadmap. And this is like, I like to call this a Cadillac audit. It's not just, high level energy efficiency measures. It looks into the interconnectedness of how a building uses energy and doesn't just look at conservation. It also brings in opportunities for renewables as well. So really excited to see the results of that. The city is in the process of completing their active transportation master plan. Active transportation is another key pillar of the transportation section of the city's climate plan. And you may have seen in the news lately, there's been a lot of interest in boulevard gardening, which aligns with more of the green space pillar of the city's greenhouse gas reduction plan. So that's cooking as well. So those are some high-level snippets of big projects, but I also wanted to take an opportunity to, again, building on my theme of partnerships, highlight some really great initiatives that are coming up. Some of them may have just wrapped up. The city reached out to all schools in Sault Ste. Marie, all different school boards, and invited them to submit a video, 1-minute long video about what they've been up to at their school for being more environmentally friendly, being more sustainable. And we actually have 2 countertop composters that were donated to the city that we're going to give away to the winning schools. So that was really a great way to engage youth here for Earth Day. As I mentioned earlier, I've been at the Science North Youth Climate Summit over the past couple of days, talking to students and getting their insights and feedback, and learning a little bit more about green roofs, as well as our bird-friendly city project. Please check out the City Nature Challenge. That's again this Friday to April 26th to Monday, April 29th. Download iNaturalist on your phone, get outside and take some pictures. Make sure you upload them. There's some really great prizes up for grabs. Thanks, courtesy of the Sault Ste. Marie Conservation Authority, the city, and the Sioux Naturalists. World Migratory Bird Day is coming up May 11th. So get out there and check out some birds. You can also go to the Sioux Nats birding event on May 25th. Bike to Work Week this year will be June 1 to June 7th. More details to come. Once again, we're partnering with the Sioux Cycling Club and Algoma Public Health on that. Thrilled to hear that ADSB, as well as the Huron Superior Catholic Board, will be participating in the Yellowfish Road program again. So keep your eyes peeled for some yellowfish out on our roadways sometime in the month of June. And work is underway again in collaboration with the Sault Climate Hub as well as the PUC to host our second EV showcase here in Sault Ste. Marie, but this time in partnership with the Queen Street Cruise. So more details to come on that. That's in the middle of June. So I've been doing a lot of talking here. That is your snippet of what happened last year and what we've got in the hopper for this year. But as I mentioned, there's three things that really have been helping the city advance their portfolio as it pertains to sustainability, and that is partnerships. So really getting out there, working with stakeholders, listening to what they're doing and seeing how we can support them, equally collaborating with them on their initiatives, and policy. So these are really three key pieces. If there's anything that you take away tonight, that's really what's been supporting our progression on this, this very robust, exciting, and important portfolio. Thanks so much for your attention, and I will stop sharing my slides here so I can see you all again.
Thanks so much, Emily. That was a great overview of everything the city's had going on and are aiming to do this year. Open it up now to folks. If you have questions, you can ask them. We're not a huge group here tonight, so you can just unmute yourself and ask a question directly to Emily if you want. Or if you want to use the chat, that's okay too.
I was just curious, Emily, about the student made videos. Do they have a particular topic? Will we get to see them? Will they be posted on the city's website?
Yeah, I have to talk to the city comms team. They were the ones managing that. I hope so. And if they can't, we'll have to find a way somehow to, at least recognize the schools who participated.
Okay, thank you.
I was just interested to know if I had heard there was some work being done with Green Economy North, but I wasn't sure if that was anything that was ongoing or if that was part of the greenhouse gas reduction or greenhouse gas emission reduction plan or anything like that, if there was any kind of carbon accounting in there. But yeah, I was wondering, I guess, if there's any upcoming initiatives in association with that partnership, or I know the YMCA is closing and they're part of that network for part of Green Economy Canada, but yeah.
So I'll do my best, Emily, to inform the group about what Green Economy North is. Their program, maybe you could actually give the group, and then I'll speak to what we've been doing with Rethink Green out of Sudbury.
Yeah, sorry. No, I guess yeah, just for some background, I work for Green Economy Canada, and they have the same sort of hub model, I think, as Sault Climate Hub, but yeah, no, they just do carbon accounting and produce GHG inventories to lower emissions for businesses. But no, I just was wondering if there was any kind of I guess I'm just really interested in the GHG emission reduction aspect of this. And yeah, there's just a lot of great partnerships.
Okay,
go ahead.
Great. So Green Economy North is a program that supports businesses with their emissions reduction inventories, plans, etc. So that program is being delivered in Northeastern Ontario by a nonprofit out of Sudbury called Rethink Green. And Rethink Green has been around for quite a while, working on a lot of initiatives, predominantly in the Sudbury area, but they've really expanded across Northeastern Ontario. They reached out to the city, I want to say 2 years ago, maybe more, to introduce this program. I went to several community engagement activities, one with the Chamber of Commerce. I met with Rethink Green and to, talk to local businesses about this program. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of interest from local businesses in Sault Ste. Marie probably because 2 years ago, we're still really in the thick of COVID and coming out of the pandemic recovery. And, you know, if you're a business owner, like it's especially a smaller business, albeit important to consider climate action, it can be a bit side of desk when you're just trying to survive. But Green Economy North, through Rethink Green, the nonprofit out of Sudbury, was really well advertised, spoke to our economic development team about it as well. I think there were 1 or 2 businesses in Sault Ste. Marie who took part of it. I would say you'd have to talk to the folks at Rethink Green. I acted more as a facilitator for that, but it certainly is an option. So I believe they are still taking applications from businesses. That's the funding that they have right now, or it may have wrapped up. I'm not sure. But if you're a business and you're interested in doing a deeper dive into your carbon emissions, there is a program that a nonprofit out of Sudbury would be happy to work with you on. So the Climate Hub has my email. I'll put it in the chat. Anyone who wants to reach out. I've always funneled different leads as I get them to Rethink Green out of Sudbury, and would be happy to do so again.
Danielle's got a question here, Emily, in the chat. Thanks for the great talk. Of all the awesome projects you're working on, which is the most inspiring for you? Which are you most excited about and why?
Boy, that's a tough one. I really like what I do. I get to go to work every day and I enjoy it. And I know that I'm very privileged to be in that space. It's not easy. You got to work hard. You can't give up. Some days are better than others, but hey, it's like that in any job. But I would say, I have an energy background and I am really excited about the possibility of a community retrofit program. It's going to take a while. We have to go through the different steps. But the timing is right for that right now. I think given the funder that we're going to go after for, they've got money. The Canada Greener Homes grant and loan have kind of closed. I think so. It's the end of March, I believe. That's when it happens. So we have an opportunity to, look at the study that was done. A lot of our housing stock in Sault Ste. Marie is older. So we have a lot of opportunity to retrofit those existing buildings. And I think having a homegrown program, and this is me, being wishful because it's going to take some time to get it there and funding, etc., would be really cool. Not only for our emissions reduction from our residential sector, but also for the economy. And I love to share this anecdote from Halifax. So the city of Halifax I started a program a number of years ago called Solar City. And at the time that they developed that community solar program, they had one contractor who was doing solar installation. By whatever time they had this up off the ground, don't quote me on the years, I believe they had definitely over 10. So there's an opportunity not only to reduce emissions here, but grow our green economy as well. So I think that's one that is going to take some time. It's going to take some collaboration, but you could see not just emission spinoffs, reduction benefits, but some other spinoffs as well.
Emily, could you describe sort of how you think that? And again, I know you're just visioning it now, but obviously there's examples out there like the Canadian Greener Homes. How would a program like that work in the Soo? And you're talking about a funder. That would mean that it's not city funds that are helping to offset residential retrofits. It's some other government level or something. Just any other ideas about how that might work, that program?
Absolutely. So the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, I've mentioned them a couple of times tonight. They funded several different projects for the city, and they've funded a lot of municipalities across Canada. They have a program called their Community Efficiency Financing Program. This was a $300 million initiative to support municipalities across the country in financing energy financing programs. And it looks at different ways to finance that, be it through property assessed clean energy or PACE through your tax bill, utility on bill financing, as well as third party lending partnerships. So there's different examples. Durham has a program that's been running for a while now. City of Ottawa. I don't have all of the information in front of me, but it's a great funding program that we're going to try. We're going to try to take advantage of it for sure. We need to have a little bit more of an understanding of what it will look like, and that's why we're working on an application to do a more detailed program design.
Great, thanks.
Yeah,
Danielle,
Emily.
Go ahead, Rob.
Emily, I'm just wondering, looking to the future here, what do you see as the greatest challenges to some of your initiatives? And are there other particular initiatives, again, looking in the future, that you see as high priority?
Thanks for that question, Rob. I think that when it comes to climate action, or even just, energy projects as a whole, you start with some of the easier things, right? Energy conservation, so changing out light bulbs to LED. The return on investment for projects like that is fantastic. Maybe 1.5 years just based on the energy savings alone. We're getting to a point in society where a lot of buildings, especially newer ones, are all LED. And because of some really strong incentive programs provincially, a lot of buildings have been retrofit. Don't get me wrong, there's still a few out there that need to be done. So there's those low-hanging fruit projects that yield a quicker return on investment that are certainly more attractive from an energy conservation standpoint. And energy conservation is also associated to lower greenhouse gas emissions, although electricity currently is fairly clean here in the province of Ontario. But we need to start shifting to those projects that are, more carbon intensive. So looking at ways to reduce our consumption of fossil fuels, natural gas, gasoline, diesel, etc. We are not the only municipality facing this challenge, and the big issue is money. How are we going to fund these different initiatives? Governments, federal specifically, when you look even around the world, there's all kinds of different incentive programs, grant programs, funding programs. Problem with funding programs is that they can change when the government changes, right? So it's not necessarily a 100% solution to your woes. When you take a look at the city's greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan, there's a section that talks about financing. So looking at different ways to finance climate initiatives, not only with exploring funding applications, but ways that the municipality operates. And one of them that I think would be very interesting to pursue would be to look at taking the savings from these energy projects like LED retrofits, where you're no longer paying so much for utility costs, and you're seeing that when you pay your hydro bill, it's a significant amount less, and reinvesting those savings into those more capital intensive projects. For sure. And this model is not only being pursued by municipalities in Canada. The town of Caledon has that. They call it their internal revolving energy fund. I know down in the States, the city of Santa Barbara has a really unique program where they've been doing that type of reinvestment for a while now. You have to get creative, but you also have to start embedding emissions reduction, not only in looking at it at a project by project stage, but within budgeting as well as procurement. So these bigger projects are going to be more expensive. When we see our roadmap from those audits, there's going to be some big numbers tied to them. And we're going to have to take a step back and move away from those days of, a short return on investment or no deal, because we're juggling a lot here, costs, but we're also juggling, the carbon tax, and all of these things have to be factored into it. So it's going to require a holistic way of thinking and a bit of creativity when it comes to finding monies to reach our emission reduction targets for sure.
Do you see partnerships with other communities being a significant approach here?
I think it'll depend on like what the project is. When it comes to, for example, a community retrofit program, the way that the funding is designed is very specific to a municipality, the municipality, like the city proper. Although I've been in discussions with all of my Northern Ontario counterparts in the big 5 Northern Ontario cities, specifically to get an understanding of, hey, could we maybe collaborate on something? One of the nice things about municipalities is that we're all really willing to work together. I'm part of an Ontario Municipal Energy Managers Network. We're constantly reaching out to one another with similar questions. And it's literally a beautiful thing to just see the willingness to share, because we all have the same problems. So why reinvent the wheel? So certainly no idea is off the table, but having those audits on our top 6 emitting facilities, giving us that roadmap, showing us what those costs are going to look like, I think will be very helpful. Not only for, department heads, but also for our finance team when we're starting to think about budgeting, and, maybe revisiting some of those creative ways of financing, Enbridge Sustain, for example. There's different programs out there. We're not alone. I'm gonna stop there. I'm kind of rambling.
Thank you.
Paul, may I jump in, please?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Carmen.
go for it, Carmen.
Emily, I want to thank you for a very inspiring talk, as you always do, and just all the pies that you've got going. The question I have is the interrelationship among what I probably would call satellite communities to Sault Ste. Marie. I live on St. Joseph Island, so I'm one of those. And I'm thinking that if we maintain the same relationship that we have, i.e. all the satellite communities commute to Sault Ste. Marie for centralized services, then the satellite communities become a liability to Sault Ste. Marie's efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And what I'm thinking here is that we're obliged to travel to get services. So who's counting those greenhouse gas emissions? Is it Richards Landing or is it Sault Ste. Marie? And the bottom line is it's still out there.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of, not that Sault Ste. Marie can do the work for the satellite communities, but is there any kind of collaboration where an initiative born in Sault Ste. Marie can be shared in some complementary way with the communities in the surroundings?
Yeah, you bring forward a really interesting insight. So I'm going to get a little bit technical for one moment here. So when it comes to calculating emissions for vehicles, there's a whole slew of ways to do it, but the methodology that the city used is through this group called ICLEI, ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability. And we use a program called the Partners for Climate Protection, or PCP program, that walks over 450 municipalities across Canada through a 5 milestone process in creating an emissions inventory baseline, developing a climate plan, targets, implementing and monitoring results. So per the methodology that we use to calculate our transportation emissions, there were 3 alternatives. One was to purchase fuel sales volume data from within the municipal boundary. That has its pros and its cons, but one of the big issues with that is that somebody might fuel up in Sault Ste. Marie, but move along to Walla, right? So it can be a bit of a gray area. The other area that way that you can calculate emissions is taking a look at vehicle registration data. Again, somebody might be registered in Sault Ste. Marie, but maybe they're always traveling for work, right? So it's another gray area. The third area, which is what we used for calculating our community transportation emissions. And fun fact for those who are curious to see if their town, if it's not Sault Ste. Marie, because Sault Ste. Marie is actually on it, Google Environmental Insights Explorer. And they have communities from around the world where they've estimated their transportation emissions, their rooftop solar potential, as well as their tree canopy. It's really, really cool. And Sault Ste. Marie was actually one of the first 40 cities in the world to reach out to Google Environmental Insights Explorer when they launched the program for our city's data to be shown there. Now, the way they're calculating it is very fancy, and they've got a nice long explanation on how they calculated their vehicle kilometers traveled. But how we calculated it back in 2019 is we took total, we had traffic counters within the community, and we took road length, center line length. And if you want to read more about it, read the city's GHG emissions inventory. It explains it in more detail. But we felt it would be a bit more thorough representation based on counts here in Sault Ste. Marie. So that was based on Sault Ste. Marie boundary. It did not include satellite communities. All municipalities, townships, what have you, can go and create their own climate plan, but the smaller the community, the fewer resources you have. I would say that, you know, having worked for a small municipality myself, I worked for Wawa from 2014 to 2017, so about 3,000 people. People have to wear a lot of hats, and it may not be something that they have the staff for. They may not have the money for a consultant, and they just may not have the time to do something like that. So I would say that if you live in a satellite community like St. Joseph's Island, you as an individual should take on some responsibility for your own carbon footprint. We're seeing an expansion. I was in a meeting today, I can't remember with who, we were talking about Thessalon, and they just had 7 electric chargers installed within the town of Thessalon. So that's really great to see for people who are traveling along Highway 17 and maybe need to charge their electric vehicle, and people within the town of Thessalon as well. So if you're concerned about commuting and you have no choice but to commute, you may want to consider looking at an alternative option for your vehicle. And if that is not an option, well, you know, maybe speak to your township and see if there's a way to, you know, come up with some kind of a carpooling system, or perhaps, you know, if I don't think transit really is an option, make a list, think about how many times you have to go. And if you're really concerned, well, you may have to consider relocating. One of my goals is to work with as many communities as possible, small and big. I just did that for the City Nature Challenge. We reached out to all towns and cities in Algoma, as well as Chippewa County, for this project. And, you know, if there's an opportunity to collaborate or share ideas, I think it was Temiskaming. I met with them, and they had hired a climate person, an intern, to do their inventory. A lot of municipalities are willing to share ideas and support. When I came on here, I think I was part of many climate folks across the country doing this for the first time in their cities. So if you would like me to chat to your community, please have them reach out, or I can give you my email, and or you can contact us, whatever. I'm open to it. And we're in a unique part of the world where we're really spread out. And as I said, I'm in regular communication with my counterparts across the north, and I'd certainly be willing to consider it. But you have to take on some ownership as well, for your own personal carbon footprint, because at the end of the day, some of these methods, as technical as they can get, the gold standard for carbon accounting is to have that actual data. And a lot of the data at times is as an estimate. So as long as you can back it up with how you calculated it, that's the best you can do. But a lot of it comes down to just taking those actions yourself.
I said, thank you, Emily. Awesome answer. And we may reach out for sure.
Please do.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Danielle had another question here. Emily, another high-level general one. How would you recommend the average Sault Ste. Marie community member support your efforts at the city?
Well, you know, opportunities like this with the Sault Climate Hub is great. You know, get out there, learn what's cooking. You know, I'm always willing to hear different ideas, different insights, collaborate with different groups, point someone who may not know where some information is. 9 times out of 10, it comes down to communication. Reach out, get involved in some of these initiatives. If you have an electric vehicle and you're interested in participating in the EV showcase in June, reach out. Bike to work, volunteer, reach out to groups like Clean North, the Climate Hub, Sioux Naturalists, get out there and get involved. And yeah, reach out. If I can't do it, I'll connect you to someone who can.
Good, thank you. I had a question, something you didn't talk about at all, Emily, and maybe it's not directly in your portfolio, but I was wondering about waste disposal and moving to the provincial rule of composting and green bin pickup and so on. Do you have information where the city's at with that and when that can be expected in Sault Ste. Marie?
It's my understanding per the provincial requirements that come 2025, it needs to be up and rolling. Whether that's changed or, so by up and rolling, I mean curbside composting. We meet the threshold as a municipality in the province to require that. So I'm sure more details will be coming out from engineering and public works with an update to city council, but I don't have all of those details at this time.
Okay, yeah, that's a few years ago, that was a long way away, but now it's not so far away. 2025. Right? So been looking for something from that for sure to hear. Thanks. Does anyone else have any other questions for Emily?
Go ahead, Ken. You got your hand up.
Yeah, Ken's got his hand up.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some really good ideas, Emily. I wonder if you can talk a bit about, from a city planning point of view, something we're seeing. I'm from Southern Ontario, outside of Aurelia. The orientation of homes and the design of homes to get made for solar panels. Like, this is a big thing in Europe. I have family in Europe, and you do see, I don't know if it's mandatory, some communities in Germany, they're limited in what they can do. So homes are built in a certain direction, in a certain style, so that they can take advantage of solar panels. So I'm wondering if the city of Sault Ste. Marie considers that in its land use planning. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken. So one of the actions in the city's climate plan is to develop a green development standard. And I guess that would probably be a good tie-in with a good tie to the community retrofit program. I'd love to see something like that come to Sault Ste. Marie. And that is a really neat initiative because it can act as a catch-all for some of those programs that I've been mentioning tonight, from energy efficiency, water quality, bird friendly, electric vehicles. And this is not a new concept. I was just talking about it today at that climate fair at the Bush Plain. It would really, having something like that, and cities like Toronto, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, Markham, they all have a green development standard, Vancouver. And I don't know the exact timeline for the province, but I heard rumblings that the province was considering some kind of a universal green standard, but I haven't seen anything about that lately, and it's probably going to take a while. It might have been a year ago. But having a green development standard that encourages building above and beyond the Ontario Building Code would be a wonderful way to see that. At present, It's not part of our portfolio, but it is certainly on my radar.
Great. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Ken. Anyone else have anything they want to ask Emily?
Maybe Emily from Green Economy Canada could speak to this. Just taking a look here. Is this a way to calculate your own carbon footprint, Emily?
Oh, it's so yeah, just coming up, we have this climate action boot camp. But yeah, it's 2 workshops, and it's just basically an introduction to climate action in general for like business members who are trying to just start and understand the business case for it, I suppose, and the cost savings that you can get and the return.
Oh, nice.
Just to kind of wrap their head around it and actually get, you know, some senior leadership buy-in, if that's what's needed, is to just get that business case on paper. But yeah, I posted it just because, you know, I think there is a big question around autonomy and having that individual kind of ability to take leadership and having your own carbon footprint snapshot and producing those inventories, because I think that is a really big gap in our community. We are so spread out. And I see a lot of people, a lot of my friends that are actually in the same position, that they do feel a little bit powerless, and in being able to be in that catchment area of Sault Ste. Marie. So unfortunately, a lot of people in this market and this audience do tend to spread to the outskirts of the Soo, because but yeah. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the city has an interesting partnership with Prince Township that I certainly think could be mimicked when it comes to sustainability initiatives. So that's a tested and true program. When I was working in Wawa, I saw the town of Terrace Bay. Now we're going to the Northwest. And they had a partnership with Recool, which was the recycling, kind of like the GFL here in Sault Ste. Marie in Thunder Bay. And the town of Terrace Bay, which is very tiny, was recycling. And we were actually looking at it as a possibility in Wawa. Wawa is kind of in that weird zone between Northeastern and on the cusp of Northwestern. They're Northeastern, but you're starting to get to the west a bit. So partnerships between municipalities exist. Emily, does that boot camp have a cost for municipalities to join?
Nope, completely free. That's why it's one of our kind of higher rated workshops, and you don't have to be a member or anything. It's just basically to get more awareness on climate action and get your foot in the door if you really just don't know where to start with sustainability or ESG or corporate responsibility in general. It's just something to kind of get your feet on the ground and introduce you to a couple of really, like you say, low hanging fruit projects that are just really easy to implement and have a really quick cost return.
Great, thanks for sharing that.
Super. There's another question in the chat there for you too, Emily. Is the city considering a renewable energy grant for residential customers?
I think we're going to look into that as part of the program design for the community efficiency financing program. We'll have to see what's feasible. I'm going to be hopeful, but I think the biggest piece of that is really on the conservation side. When it comes to energy, you start with conservation, then you look at fuel switching, right? Like that would really be the next step. That can be a little bit more intensive. But in our feasibility study that was approved by council last year, it mentioned it looked at deep retrofits and light retrofits, and the deeper retrofits looked at renewables. So I think that that's going to be looked at as part of our deeper study for that community retrofit program. So that's a long-winded yes.
Great. Well, we can hang in there for a few more minutes. We've been about an hour. So give a thought here if you have another question. Before folks start to sign off, I'd just like to thank all of you for joining tonight. And just mention our next webinar, where, as I said off the top, this is the first of the series that we're going to have this year. Our next one is on Wednesday, May 29th, the last Wednesday of May. And it's going to be a webinar by Avelogen Brookfield Renewables. Somebody from Brookfield's going to be presenting on generating electricity in Algoma and beyond using wind, water, and solar power. So thanks all of you for coming tonight, and look forward to seeing you maybe in a month's time too. But again, I don't want to cut short, but if people have other questions and Emily's got a couple more minutes, then we can ask them. If not, thank you. Thanks a lot, Emily. It was really good.
Thanks for having me, and reach out anytime. Reach out to the Climate Hub. They know how to get a hold of me, and keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks so much, Emily.
Take care.